and thank you for tuning in to this month's Creatrix Conversations live broadcast. I'm so very grateful for your presence here in this community, in this sisterhood of Awaken the Goddess Within. And especially in times like these, I'm feeling so blessed to have so many online friends and a place, a sacred space that we can gather online and be in sisterhood and community together. So welcome, I'm seeing some women joining. Please say hello. And yes, this is going to be a great conversation. And as always, I love these Creatrix conversations to be in a dialogue. I'm bringing these topics and dialogues to this community so that we can share with one another. Hello, Carla. Hello, Samantha. Hello, Alex. Wonderful. So today's topic is really interesting, that at the end of February, when I was planning for March, and I always post the schedule of the virtual events for the group at the beginning of the month, I'm listening. I'm always listening for what is, feeling present, what needs to be spoken about. And what came through really clearly was talking about shadow work and how we need to embrace our shadows at Lightworkers. And I had no idea then, at the end of February, how even more important and relevant this topic feels for me right now. And I'm not sure if you're feeling that we are in a collective experience worldwide of being thrown into shadow healing and facing so much of this. So it's really interesting that this was the topic that came forward, how to embrace our shadows as Lightworkers. And I'm going to be speaking into 4 wounds that hold your medicine. And yeah, so there we go. Yes, Claire, right? Very relevant. Before I dive in case you don't know me, my name is Flora, and I am the hostess and focalizer for Awaken the Goddess Within. And I am a leadership mentor and sacred business coach. And what I do is truly I help women hear their soul's voice, to remember their wisdom, and to step into their unique feminine power. So this is a process, stepping into your power, remembering your wisdom, stepping into your power is a healing journey. And I've spoken about this many times before, that the path of leadership, whatever that looks like for you, is a path of healing. And there's a lot that we need to really look at when we rise and make steps towards our greatest potential. So the more that we turn to the light, yes, sister, you definitely have power. And it's safe for us to be in our power, to be empowered. And when we turn to the light, when we turn to the brilliant light of our truth and our power, often our shadows become more obvious, become more magnified. And that's why I say that the path of leadership, of stepping into your own leadership, in whatever way that looks like for you, is a path of healing, because these old wounds come up, these old patterns make a reappearance in a bigger way than ever before. Because when we're in our comfort zones, we aren't forced to face them. And that's why I was saying that collectively right now, we are all being pushed out of our comfort zones. We are being thrust into the unknown. And that is why we are en masse, on a global scale right now, we are being forced to look at what are those patterns that are no longer working? What are those systems or structures or those ways of being that we have been ignoring and denying? And collectively, we're in an experience of shadow healing. And so it can feel really scary to a lot of people, right? We do those parts of us that we want to ignore, deny, those ways of beings. Hello, lovely. Thank you for joining. It can feel scary, it can feel uncomfortable, but ultimately it is so liberating, right? Every breakdown that leads to a breakthrough, right? And so for all of this, I'm really excited to be talking about this today. And like I said, I'm looking forward to the conversation that it sparks. So the four wounds that I would say they're probably the main ones, but there's more, and there's different ways that we can define them. Hello, wonderful, welcome. These are the four that I wanted to speak about today. And so as I'm going through the four, you can see which one is the most prevalent for you, and maybe more than one. I certainly am working through more than one as well. The first one is the wounded child, right? Wounded child. Things that happened when we were children that were never really resolved or looked at. And this wound of the wounded child can often show up as fear of abandonment, like fear of being abandoned, and also or fear of being disloyal to your family. And so this is how it presents itself as we grow into adults, and a necessary part of our maturation process as we mature is to, what's called in psychology, is to individuate from our families, right? That, when we leave home in those first 5 years, typically, of living on our own, we begin that process of individuating, right? Finding who we are as a separate individual from our family, right? Once we remove ourselves, as is typically the way, that when we do leave home. But as that process happens, you can see, and even noticing in yourself, the ways that we still try to conform with the family values. Not always, right? This may not apply to you. It's going to be 4. But that fear of being disloyal to family can be really unconscious and hold you back in ways that you may not be aware of. This is connected to the wound of that you deep down you're afraid that you are unlovable as you are. That you need to conform to fit into the family, or else you will be abandoned. And then this wound can then be projected onto the new circle of friends, or the family that you then create, right? If you get married, you have your own kids, right? If this wounded child isn't healed, then that, as we know, these wounds perpetuate. And so watch out for this. Like I said, you can project onto a new circle of friends, like chosen family or your own family. You can also project this wound onto coaches, mentors, or even peers sometimes. But anyone that you maybe put into that parental role in your life, this wound can be projected on. And I want to share a personal story that maybe illustrates for yourself that I noticed that this wound was still being played out in my life. The fear of being disloyal to my family was the bigger theme than a fear of being abandoned. But I had a fear of being disloyal to my family if I was more successful than my parents. So I subconsciously kept my salary in line with what I understood my parents' salary to be when I was growing up. Isn't that fascinating? And it wasn't until I had a coach bring awareness to that And also to calculate that understanding of my mom's salary as it was in 1993, and doing the inflation difference of what 1993 dollars meant to today dollars, that she was actually making a lot more relatively, but I had never let myself be more successful. What I had in my mind, this is subconscious stuff, right? This is why it's the shadows, because I was afraid of being disloyal in this twisted subconscious way. I share that vulnerable personal story with you so that you can maybe start to look that often these shadows, they are in our subconscious. And it isn't until we bring the light of awareness onto the shadows that then it can come into the conscious mind, that we become aware of something. That is the only place that we can do anything about it, is when we're aware of it. Right? It is powerful. It is so powerful. So this wounded child, you want to, the medicine that you bring, if you have this, and truly almost all of us will have some childhood wounds, right? But the medicine, you turn that into the medicine of how do you share a sense of safety with the people around you? How do you share the medicine of unconditional love? Because that unconditional love is that medicine to that fear of being abandoned. And so if you work with clients, then that's the medicine that you bring from that wound. And or even just with your friends and your family and your loved ones, that with that awareness, you bring the medicine of unconditional love and bringing a sense of safety from that your wounded child needs and that their wounded child needs. You understand? Okay. So let me know if that wound feels like it's something for you. Like I said, most of us have something there. It just may not be the strongest one right now. Okay, so moving on to the second wound, and this is a topic that I've also spoken about at length. The mother wound. Now, the mother wound is also really connected to a fear of abandonment. But it also has another layer, the mother wound, of the fear of being a burden. The mother wound is not reserved only for people who have like a difficult relationship with their own mother. Okay? And for a while, I thought that the mother wound didn't apply to me because I have a wonderful and loving relationship with my mother. And so I thought, oh yeah, that doesn't apply to me. No, unfortunately not. You don't get off the hook, because collectively and psychologically, the mother wound the mother wound is inflicted upon all of us because of the damage that has been done in our psyches and souls with the Great Mother, with the divine feminine, and also even with our Mother Earth. That damaged relationship that we have with a feminine face of the divine, and with our understanding of the earth as our mother, as the sustainer of all life. So again, we are all affected by this mother wound on some level, and it's just varying degrees. So if you feel a fear of abandonment, but it feels more about a fear of being a burden, that you don't want to be a burden, that's a key to know that you carry a wound around worthiness, and that somewhere along the way you took on the belief that your worthiness is dependent on your usefulness. And so guess what? You probably have become very useful, very productive, hardworking, because you don't want to ever feel like you're a burden on someone else. And therefore you can slip into the shadow aspects of over responsibility, right? Taking on more than, is yours to take on. And especially if you work with clients, You can show that being over responsible for your clients, mothering your clients. Anyone else can relate to that energy? That's something that I really needed to face and heal after the first 2 years of my business, when I realized that I was not relating to my clients in the healthiest way possible. And I'm able to admit that now, that I was over responsible for my clients' success, and I was projecting that mother wound. Yes, that feeling. Okay, so that's great. Thank you for bringing that up, that we as a society are a burden to Mother Earth with the way that she is being treated. So even that belief that we're a burden on the earth, and I'm not going to disagree with you, the way that we have been acting is putting a burden, but if we perpetuate that belief, then that almost gives us permission to just kind of continue to believe that and to continue to act in ways. So shifting out of that shadow into, we are guardians of the earth. We are stewards of the earth. That we are a beautiful piece of the ecosystem. So that's a beautiful example of how this can translate on the bigger picture scale. Because all of these are, yes, at the personal. We talk about these personal, but they're also very much alive in the collective unconscious. So thank you for that. That's so important. So if you have this mother wound, again, I spoke about, acting in over responsibility, mothering your clients, also blocks to receiving. Right? Because you feel like you need to give. If your worthiness is tied to how useful you are, then you block your own receiving. You are like, I'm good. I don't need any help. I don't need any support. Someone offers you a generous gift. No. I had a great example of this just yesterday. I offered a new moon circle. Then I said, pay what you can. Any donation, any contribution is welcome, and you are more than welcome to still come, even if you can't make a contribution at this time, because we're in a time of crisis. And I felt that I'd made that clear, right? It was written in the event, it was written in the email, it was written in posts, like, pay what you can, or, you're still welcome to come, even if you can't make a contribution. And since then, I've come to learn that a few women didn't show up because they couldn't make a contribution. And when I asked, no, you were still welcome to come. You didn't, but it was like they read it and didn't believe it, because the part of them that thought, but I don't deserve to be there unless I'm contributing on a very energetic scale. And so that's just a very recent example that I thought, wow, it breaks my heart to see how many women think that they don't deserve something if they can't pay for it. Or, that just how much we block our receiving, especially as women, that we are supposed to only be the givers. Right? Is that landing for anyone here? That we subconsciously block support, love, gifts, money. we block receiving. And thankfully, and so actually, if you are one of those women that didn't come to the new moon circle yesterday because you felt, well, I can't make a contribution, even though, like I said, some women donated $2, $5, and that was beautiful. There was no set amount. That's what pay what you can means, or nothing. If you are one of those women and you want the replay, I want to gift it to you. Can you accept my gift? Can you accept my gift? Can you accept any gift? Let me know in the comments if you want the new moon replay and to receive it, and I will private message you with the replay link later. Okay, so that is the medicine. I get passionate about this one. I get passionate about all of them, but that is your medicine. Once you realize that you carry that wound, your medicine in healing that is one of acceptance and receiving, allowing to receive support, helping others to recognize and receive support, and to bring compassion. You hold the gift of beautiful compassion when you heal that mother wound. Okay. The third wound that I want to speak to is the witch wound, or the sister wound. And no, they aren't exactly the same, but they are very similar. And so for this context, I'm putting them together: the witch wound and the sister wound. And again, I've spoken at length about these before, but this really shows itself as the fear of judgment, the fear of being judged by others, the fear of being persecuted by others, the fear of, in fact, being, not just criticized by online haters, but that deep down there's a fear of harm that will come to you. And this is very prevalent among lightworkers, healers, priestesses, because we remember a time when it was not safe to know what we know, and it was not safe to share our talents, our wisdom, and we also remember how many of us were betrayed by our sisters in the burning times. And so that was, and it was a scary and dark time. And, so that's how it shows. It shows up as a way to be afraid to speak up, afraid to shine in your brilliance of what you know and the gifts that you carry, your knowledge, your wisdom. Watch out for this. Watch out for your fear of success being disguised as self-sabotage because of this witch wound, because of this sister wound. It also displays as, comparing yourself to others and comparing and competing, feeling that you're comparing and competing with other women specifically. I'm loving the comments that are coming up, and I'm just finding that I'm gonna respond to them later. Okay, thank you, sisters. So if you notice yourself in that comparison wound, you know that there's sister wound healing that needs to happen. Or if you feel it's competing, like, oh, well, I can't do that because she's doing that, right? That there's an underlying sense of scarcity as well, that there isn't enough room for all of us. That really, so that self-sabotage, you will undermine yourself because of this fear of judgment, this fear of persecution, until you really look at your sister wound, until you really acknowledge and heal your witch wound. And then, of course, in the medicine that this wound brings through is one of empowerment. That as you empower yourself, you help empower others. You inspire others. And there's a lot about freeing the voice with this. Yes, love that. Thank you, Wendy. Very true. So the medicine of empowerment, the medicine of freeing the voice, the medicine of freeing creativity, that we need to share, and that we're safe to share our knowledge. We're safe to share what we know, what we remember, integrating those gifts from past lifetimes, reclaiming all of that wisdom, all of the training that you have done in past lifetimes, integrating it into this present lifetime. There's a huge amount of healing there. And and this is, raising my hand here. This is a big one for me, and why I'm here. That it's my path, it's my medicine to empower other women and to help women befriend their own power, to find their power, to free their voice. As I heal my witch wound, I'm helping others do the same, and the sister wound. Okay, and the fourth wound, and this is also very timely. The fourth wound is the wounded healer. The wounded healer. That's a common expression, and this is where you hold the wound that you think that you are unworthy or unready. You're not ready, not ready or not worthy to teach or help others on their healing journey because you are still on your healing journey. So I need to wait until I have my stuff all figured out, sorted out, until I'm all healed before I can turn around and heal others. Calling BS on that. The wounded healer is really a fear that you are flawed. The fear of being fundamentally flawed, and therefore only ever being in your own healing journey, and that you can't turn around and help and heal others. That's the shadow aspect of this, right? And even saying some of those words, it feels so heavy. It feels so heavy. And this is really timely because the wounded healer has become associated with the planet Chiron and in astrology. And Chiron is now, by astronomers, considered a dwarf planet. It's way out there with Pluto now. But right now with this Aries new moon, apparently right now with this Aries new moon, Chiron is very active. I'm not sure what it's doing exactly. I did a little bit of research, but they were saying that Chiron is very active right now with this Aries new moon. And so this is highlighting where we still need to do healing for ourselves. It's also highlighting ways how we can assist healing in the world. But if you stay stuck in the shadow of this wound and thinking that you can't help or heal until you have all your stuff figured out, until you're fully healed, then you won't be contributing to that. So if this really lands for you, I want you to really call BS on it yourself, and to know that we are all on the journey. We are all on the journey, and we don't have to reach this pinnacle of, enlightenment or healing before we can turn around and help others. The Chiron, the wounded healer, really holds that medicine of turning any wounds into wisdom and healing. And so the strength of that for all of these that I've been speaking of, that's why I've been speaking to the medicine of these wounds, is knowing how to make that shift and to bring the medicine forward with them. Ah, yes, sister. So that one is really landing. Yeah. So everyone's path is going to be so unique. What one person does with this is going to look totally different than what someone else does, right? So I really, I really encourage you to approach shadow work with so much compassion and curiosity. Compassion and curiosity for the process, and knowing that all of that love and light and good vibes only, that can be around. We see those. It's just, that's bypassing. That's not actually doing the healing work. Truly to be a light worker is also to be a shadow worker. We cannot have one without the other. And that's not even the goal, to like eradicate our shadows. It's to embrace them. That's why I titled this Embracing Our Shadows as light workers, knowing that they're there to teach us, to guide us, and that they hold the keys to the deep soul medicine that we are uniquely designed to share with the world. Our wounds, in fact, they are that map of medicine. So understanding more of yourself and bringing more of those wounds, those shadows into, like I said, shining the light of your awareness with compassion, bringing it into your consciousness, then you can actually do something with it. If it stays in your subconscious, then it's running the show behind the scenes, and we'll be thinking and behaving in ways that we don't even realize. And that's where that self-sabotage piece that I mentioned is so key, to realize like what's truly resistance. What am I really resisting here? So collectively right now we are in an experience of a lot of shadow healing and really facing that. And it's time. It's time for all of us to really have a look, and on the personal level and the planetary level. What's really not working anymore? What is this new way of being, this new future that we are going to weave together, that we are creating together? Yes, I agree, Sarah. Yeah, we can't shame our shadow side or pretend that it doesn't exist or act like we're, above it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a big conversation, right, about the spiritual bypassing. Even when we can understand that a trigger that we're having is an illusion, even when we can have that awareness, I know that this isn't really real. It's a trigger. It's an illusion, but I'm being triggered in this for some reason, for me to really face it with love and to look at it. And so I'm not just bypassing it. I'm actually looking at it. Oh, what is this? What is the message for me here with this trigger? Why am I so upset about this? Or, whatever it happens to be. So it's a beautiful way of looking at it. So these 4 wounds to look at for yourself and to just to sit with in your heart, bring it into your journaling, maybe bring it into your meditations or to some ritual practice that you have, about what's the medicine there for you in this wound that you hold, and what would be some way that you feel like you could bring that more into loving service with your family, with your friends, with your community, and if you have a business, with your clients. So there you go. Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in today. And yeah, I really want us to all embrace our shadows and to face them and heal them with love. There's so much there for us to learn from and for us to give from. So, blessed be, sisters. Thank you for being here, and I'm here for you in any way. I love what sisters are sharing in the group, how we're all really coming together in a beautiful way. You're so welcome. Yes, you're so welcome. Okay, bye for now, Creatrixes. Talk to you again soon.